Qantas, the flag carrier of Australia, is an airline that I had been hoping to fly for a while, and when I took a nearly 2-week-long trip down to the South Pacific in June of 2024, I finally got that chance. I took a total of 6 flights through the area, 3 different countries specifically. All 6 were Air New Zealand, except for the third one, Sydney to Auckland. For that leg, I took Qantas Airways on one of their newer Boeing 737-800 NGs. The 737 is the only narrow-body aircraft in the Qantas mainline passenger fleet, excluding the freighters and the aircraft operated under their regional subsidiary Qantas Link. So in this video, I'll be taking Qantas Flight 141 from Sydney, Australia to Auckland, New Zealand after spending 3 nights in Sydney. I'm gonna talk more about this later in the video, but if you saw my last video on Air New Zealand, you know that I won't be uploading trip reports for a few months after this. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It will be a while before you see a newer one of these. Qantas Flight 141 is a 7:10 a.m. departure with a boarding time of 6:25, but because I'm taking this trip with an enormous tour group, we arrived at 4 a.m. It was good that we did that because most of the self-check-in machines went Lufthansa mode and stopped working. But the Qantas ground staff helped us get checked in, so before we knew it, we were on the air side, and it looks like our gate for today will be 36. Funny enough, the center area of Sydney Airport reminds me a lot of both the Auckland and Stuttgart airports. Not a combination I was expecting, but it works. So for those of you who haven't seen my last video, it is true that I won't be uploading any trip reports for a few months after this video. And that is because I'm going off to college this week, and that's what I gotta focus on while I'm there. I'll still be uploading takeoff and landing videos and stuff like that, but the only times I'll be able to make actual trip reports like this will be during breaks. So my next trip reports will probably be uploaded in December. I still have quite a few flights in my backlog, and I'm booked on more that month anyway, so I definitely plan on doing that. But for these coming months, I gotta focus on college stuff, so trip reports will unfortunately be halted. There weren't many aircraft here at the international terminal this morning, but I did spot a few before getting to my gate. One was this Qantas 7879 Dreamliner, and at the entrance to a different concourse, I spotted a Qantas A380. I then made my way over to my gate. The flight I'm taking is one of those that my Flightradar 24 app doesn't show the aircraft of until like half an hour before departure time. So I had no clue what specific plane they'd put me on other than the fact that it would be a 737. So as soon as I got to my gate and saw the plane, I found out that I would be on Victor Hotel Victor Zulu Tango, a 12-year-old Boeing 737-800 NG. It came in yesterday evening from Nadi, Fiji and has been here since then. So I think they are just starting it up again. Being 12 years old, this is one of the Qantas 738s from the newer bunch, which means we'll be in the sky interior with the large overhead bins. Oh, also, this plane has a nickname, Kalgoorlie. Forgive me if I butchered that. It's named after a city in Australia, so it looks like Qantas has a similar naming convention to Lufthansa. From my gate, I managed to spot an Emirates A380 pushing back for a 13-hour journey to Dubai, and it turns out that plane was parked right beside the gate where I arrived on that Air New Zealand A320neo, which I thought was cool. Later, I spotted the Qantas 100th anniversary livery 787 Dreamliner parking right beside my plane. This aircraft came in from a 16.5-hour journey all the way from Dallas, Texas. I believe this flight used to be among the top 10 world's longest flights, but I'm not sure about that, and either way, I don't think it's there anymore. If you saw my Rarotonga video, you may know that I would spot this plane again 4 days later in Auckland, but that was from a distance. This time I'm getting it close up. It is a very cool plane. Because of the good reputation Qantas had in the 2010s, I came into this flight with high expectations. But unfortunately, once I got on board, I realized that for at least their short and medium haul, it wasn't anything that I thought it was. This was a group ticket, so seats were randomly assigned. I was in 21B. I asked the gate agent earlier if there were any open window seats, but unfortunately it was a full flight, so I'll just be filming this video with what I got. The seats themselves are padded well and quite comfortable. They're short, but the headrest can be raised to a reasonable height, unlike the American 777. The legroom, however, that's a different story. You must be joking, Qantas. It's even worse than Iberia's A320, and that's a statement I thought would never leave my mouth, let alone on a legacy carrier like Qantas. I know this airline has been dropping in the rankings, but this product has existed for quite some time. I'm sure it's better on their wide-body jets, but it's not like the 737 is just one of their planes. It makes up the majority of their mainline fleet, and I'm on one of the newer ones. And this flight is about 3 hours long, so yeah, the legroom is just unacceptable. We'll be leaving Sydney now, so once we're in the air, we'll see if Qantas excels in other aspects. Qantas has seatback screens on their 737s. They're the outdated kind, and with that, the flight map is basic but very nostalgic at the same time. There's also a power outlet, which is good. But with the screens being of an outdated model, it's kinda given that they will be really slow and unresponsive, and that was the case here. I couldn't even browse the content properly because of how bad it was. There was this glitch where it randomly kept going back to this screen here. It was an absolute pain dealing with these screens. I clicked on a lot of different movies, and each time I clicked on what I thought was a play button, not one of them played. It turns out most of the movies on here can't actually be watched through these screens. You have to connect to their Wi-Fi and stream through your own device. They only have a few that can actually be watched through the screen, and even those had trouble playing. So I tried to connect to the Wi-Fi to see what was available through streaming, and what do you know, it wouldn't let me join. This flight was less than 3 hours, so having a troublesome in-flight entertainment system is not the worst thing that could happen, but I can't lie, I expected more from Qantas. Unfortunately, the tray table isn't very clean, but let's see what they got in the seat pockets. We got the basics like the safety card and the air sickness bag, but we also have an airline magazine, which is nice. They also offer actual headphones, which would be great if I even bothered to use those glitchy IFE screens. So like Air New Zealand, Qantas has an actual meal service on 3-hour flights. There was a choice between a fruit tray and an egg with sausage and a hash brown. Because I wanted the hot meal, I went for the egg and sausage, but I would highly regret that choice. I am not going to sugarcoat this meal was gross. The vegetables were tasteless, the hash brown tasted soggy, and the eggs, or I think those are supposed to be eggs, were straight up mush, not even eggs at that point. The best part of it was the muffin, and then there was a drink choice where I chose Coke. But other than that, this is the first meal I've had on a plane that I couldn't even finish nearly half of, even though I was hungry. And I've had plenty of airline meals, this one was just not it. And yes, me being from the United States, it's usually a real treat to have a full meal on a 3-hour flight, and it would normally be something I would give a lot of credit for. But when half of the meal contents are inedible, it doesn't mean anything to me anymore. Before landing, there was one more round of service. It was a pre-landing snack, a bag of 2 regular-sized cookies. This kinda saved the service in my eyes. This was only a 3-hour flight, so had Qantas just offered this with 2 drink services, nothing more than that, I would have been okay with it. I mean, the service still would have been better than American Airlines and maybe even United and the Lufthansa group.
Ensure you check your seat and seat pocket for any personal items and take any used masks and wipes with you.
As you could probably tell, Qantas was a real disappointment today. Looking back on it, I don't know why I had such high expectations. There had to have been a reason why this airline had been plummeting in rankings, but Air New Zealand set a high standard in my book for South Pacific carriers, so it's just sad that Qantas isn't nearly as good as Air New Zealand is when it comes to short and medium haul international travel. This flight was disappointing. Worst legroom I've seen, worst meal I've eaten, and an old in-flight entertainment system that kept glitching out. Not a good first impression. Now, they probably have better meals on their long-haul flights, and I think that on their wide-body jets the legroom and screens are much better. But the aircraft type usually used on routes like this is this one, so I think my criticism is quite valid when it comes to Qantas as a whole. In my last video, I covered Air New Zealand on the same route, also on board one of their narrow bodies. I actually planned on making a video comparing that with my Qantas experience, but after taking this flight, I'm not even gonna bother. It couldn't be more obvious which one is the better option. That being said, this flight wasn't all terrible. The legroom was partly compensated by the seats themselves, the crew were decent, and though the meal was terrible, the pre-landing snack was good, so I'm glad they served at least something edible on this flight. The final score for this Qantas flight will be 6.5 out of 10, a score normally seen with low-cost carriers. So, not the best look for you, Qantas, but you have the potential to be a great airline, you just gotta make some improvements. And maybe Qantas is much better with long haul, who knows. Unfortunately, I didn't take a flight like that with them. If I had the choice, I probably would have, but this was a group itinerary and I wasn't the one who booked it. So, that ends my last trip report of the summer and marks the beginning of my freshman year at college. I want to give a huge thank you to all my subscribers for the support. I'm glad you enjoy my content and I hope you'll continue to tune in despite the periods of inactivity that are coming. We've gone to so many places on this channel and making these videos has just been fun. I'll be back to upload more of these in December, or best case scenario, November, and I'm booked on Allegiant, so it'll be interesting to cover that airline. Thanks again to my viewers, and in the meantime, please like this video and subscribe if you're new. Adios, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye.